In a world overflowing with training advice, it is easy to get sidetracked chasing the next big thing. Shiny new training protocols, endless technique breakdowns, or me and other coaches yapping about optimization. And don't get me wrong, all that stuff is great and I make my living out of it, but only if you build a rock-solid foundation first. And today we're stripping it back to the 3 training variables that are the driving forces behind getting better at swimming and honestly anything in life. And you probably already know them, but let's do a reality check and refocus on what really matters. And first up, consistency. And buckle up, this might sting a little, because here's the straight talk. If you're not showing up training day after training day and week after week, putting in the work, all the optimized training plans and science-backed recovery hacks won't save you, because consistency isn't flashy. There's no fanfares and there's no shiny medals given, but it's the steady heartbeat of any program that delivers results. And I'd argue it's the factor that makes or breaks your progress. So let me ask you something. How often have you felt unstoppable after a few killer training days only to have life, like work deadlines, kids' soccer practice, or maybe date night, derail your streak? And maybe you stack great week or 2, but then week 3 is starting to be questionable. Because it's easy to train when you're pumped up and motivated, but motivation as a feeling fades. And what you need is the habit of consistency. Because when we're starting a program and we're all excited about it, it's tempting to overload, piling up on 6 sessions a week, thinking we got it all handled, until your life says, not so fast. Because what keeps us going is not motivation, it's the habit of consistency. It's about becoming someone who keeps promises to themselves even when motivation is fading. So just as an example story, we can picture 2 swimmers. One trains twice a week, year-round, absolutely no excuses, and just with the basic program, steadily building it over months. And then the other, and we can call him Mike the Motivated, who contacts me for coaching and dives into an optimized 6 days a week plan. And at first, Mike's all in. He crosses the first perfect week like a pro, feeling completely unstoppable. But then life starts creeping in. A work project piles up, demanding extra hours. The kids need driving to practices back to back, and maybe there's a dinner party that pops onto the calendar. Little by little, he misses a session here, skips a day there. And before he knows it, consistency out of the window. And then comes the 2-week family trip to Mexico, where there's obviously no pool, just beach and maybe some margaritas. He feels guilty and tries to catch up by overdoing the training for some weeks, despite the grueling work schedule that hasn't changed. And then the cycle of inconsistency is ready and apparent. And meanwhile, the twice-a-week practicing swimmer, still chugging along, steady as ever, just absolutely no chaos, just progress. And if she misses a day, it's not overwhelming to wake up the next day a little early and replace that session. The training schedule just fits her lifestyle. And then 6 months, a year, 2 years later, my question for you is, who has improved more? And my money's on the twice-a-week swimmer every time, because progress doesn't come in bursts. It's not about epic weeks or heroic practices. It's just about those quiet, consistent bumps forward. And yes, in an ideal world, 6 sessions a week will give you more of those nudges to go forward, but only if you actually do the training. The twice-a-week swimmer can track their progress, knowing what they did last session, and then kind of build and keep tweaking their approach to continue improving. And our guy Mike, he's too erratic to tell what's working. He hits a great practice and then he misses the session that builds on it. And no wonder he's frustrated, and half a year later, they call and bark at their coach, which in this case is me, that the training program sucks. Well, any training program sucks if you don't do it. It's you who sucks. But I would never tell you that. I would just kindly and calmly start a discussion on what is the frequency of training sessions you can actually commit to. And for most master swimmers, realistically, it looks like that 3 sessions per week seems to be the sweet spot. And almost everybody can improve their performance with that. If you can only do 2 workouts a week, fine, we can make it work. 4 or 5, that's awesome, but only if you can commit. because the key is picking a frequency you can actually handle and not the one that looks good on paper. For many, the biggest roadblock isn't the specifics of the training plan, it's just consistency and time. And here's the real deal. I rarely talk about consistency when I'm giving training advice. So whether in real life, like one-on-one coaching, or in this channel, because my assumption is that you're already putting in the work. Because that optimization can squeeze a little extra out of each session, but the biggest driver of progress is training consistently. It's about sending that message to your body every week at the same time. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we are getting better at swimming, and then sticking with it for months or even years. And more often than not, the only thing standing between you and your goal isn't a flawed plan. It's just time and consistency. So you got to stay with the plan long enough to see the results. And as a side note on consistency, we all know that life happens and sometimes you will miss sessions or have to cut it short to handle the life stuff. And that's totally normal. But here's the difference in mindset. The consistent swimmer stays calm, jumps back into the pool next time like it's no big deal, and can even get like a quick makeup session, maybe just 25% of the planned workout, but they know it's better than nothing. And the inconsistent one, they spiral out of control. So I missed my practice, so I already blew my week. I might as well skip the rest and restart Monday. And this is a big no. You missed the workout, but not the whole game. Because missing a workout doesn't mean you ruined anything. Just like people who can cheat on their weight loss diet plan. People who eventually become successful at managing their weight might have a slice of cake just like the rest of us, but here's the difference. They know it's not about 100% commitment all the time. Their next meal is back to veggies and meat, no big deal. And on the flip side, the unsuccessful dieter might think, well, I already had the cake, let's just order a pizza and I'll just eat even less tomorrow to make up for it. And that kind of all or nothing approach in this dieting context is a road to either failure or like eating disorder. And because consistency is not about perfection or some hardcore military discipline, it's about structuring a training routine and your life in a way that you can stick with it the best you can for long periods of time while learning to control the variables of your life and training in a way that allows for that long-term progression. Because getting better 1/10 of a second per week for 50 weeks straight is 5 seconds. And always remember that. There's no heroic efforts needed for that. It's just consistency. And now that we got that out of our way, we gotta move on to factor number 2, because we kinda already hinted that consistency alone is not enough. You also need effort. And these two are very intertwined, because you need the effort to stay consistent, and consistency amplifies the effort. So they're kind of the different sides of the same coin. And actually, I would venture to say that 80% of your results will come from the equation effort multiplied by consistency multiplied by time. And plenty of Olympic medals have been won by athletes who just trained hard, kept at it for years, without much of a training plan. Because when there's even a generally right direction in training, as you are actually training swimming to get better at swimming and not thinking running will make you better at, let's say, backstroke, and you have the right genetics, great things will probably happen. However, we can do better, because effort isn't just about working harder. And yeah, working hard, accepting misery and pain during practice is part of it. But the real key is channeling that effort toward the one thing that matters in any performance journey, and that is improvement. So the more you can focus your energy on the things that actually are making you better, the faster you'll see results. And that's the goal, getting faster at your competitions. And that takes more than physical grind, it's kind of mental too. So if you're self-coached, my question is, how much effort do you put into analyzing your technique? Are you setting up an underwater camera? Or if your pool doesn't allow filming, putting in the effort finding a pool that allows it, and then spending your Saturday studying your stroke? Are you scouring the internet for drills and progressions to fix what you see? That all takes effort. And how about your training plan? Are you tracking your training sets, digging into that data, and building next week's program based on what worked? Are you studying sports science to test cutting-edge protocols? All that takes even more effort. And if you want to make that analysis easier, click the subscribe button and check out the Swim Rehearsal ebook and community links below. Tons of resources to boost your effort. And it doesn't stop there. Effort extends to your life, diet, sleep, and even relationships. But just pressing the off button from your remote and getting off the couch at 9:30 p.m. to hit the sack is reportedly effort for some. And making sure that your spouse or significant other is okay with you spending time at the pool, and this might take some really intelligent work, but all that effort is worth it. So optimizing all parts of your life towards your goal takes effort, but only at first, because eventually these will also become habits. And that's the place where you want to arrive at, so that those effortful habits becomes you. So what others see as hard work just becomes your natural way of acting. You're not just a swimmer who shows up. You're a swimmer who improves every day in the pool and out of it. And at first, effort is uncomfortable, and it should be. That's what separates swimmers who keep progressing from those who plateau. But you don't have to do everything at once. Just pick one or two habits that will move the needle. So, like filming your stroke or tracking your training sets, like we discussed, and pour your effort into them, eventually making them into habits, and then move on to other variables. That's how you get better. So now you got consistency and you're bringing in the effort, and those alone will get you far. And what really ties everything together is a system. That's your training roadmap, a reliable process that turns that consistent effort into results. A plan that is transparent enough to adapt when needed and grows with you as your training evolves. And all systematic approaches to swimming, like high volume, low volume, high intensity, low intensity, skill-based, strength-based, whatever, they all work when they are applied to the right person at the right time. But traditionally, swimmers and coaches get stuck in these ideological camps with little thought on how to systematically use training to get better. Because a system isn't just do more volume or do high intensity intervals. It needs a starting point and an end goal and clear steps to get there. And as an easy example, we can use volume progression for butterfly endurance. You could start a 2-month period of training fly 300 meters 3 times a week and add 50 meters into your set every week. And after 8 weeks, you have more than doubled the weekly volume for fly. And if 300 meters per workout was challenging at first, but after 8 weeks, you could do even more than the prescribed 650 meters per session, it is quite safe to say that your butterfly endurance has improved. So this is simple but effective. And of course, this was quite an easy example, but offers a good discussion point to the other aspects of your training system should provide for you. A good system also guides you when to push and when to pull back. It helps you to understand when to focus on your technique, when to ramp up the intensity, and when to dial it back for recovery. And the best part is that if you are a self-coach master swimmer, you get to create your own system. And there's no rigid rules, just the principles of training applied to you. And if you want any help with that, you can contact me for some one-on-one coaching. Link is in the description. And it's not easy. You need to gather data on how your body responds and be honest what is working and what's not. What's in the program just because you like it, and what seems to be the stuff that actually makes you better. So ditch the stuff that doesn't work and stick to what makes you better. And over time, you will dial in your system and you have the roadmap in which to apply your effort and consistency to progress and improve your swimming performance. And that's it. Be consistent, apply some effort, and build a system you trust and know will work. And everything else is in the margins. And next time we will probably discuss something about how those marginal gains can be optimized. See you then.